moving on to power and authority, like I said, I only found out recently that Mariana wasn't going to be here. So this is just kind of a quick put together of some of the key points of the difference between power and authority. And the main thing you have to remember that authority is a social role that is given to you by social power. So, for example, authority would be government officials, people in a position of power, teachers, even parents who have an institutional role of being an authority, parents, teachers, religious figures, business leaders, people who are managers, all of that is authority. People who are not in positions of authority but have influential abilities have power. So you see this definition here is that power refers to the ability or potential for an individual to influence others and control their behavior. And authority refers to the legal and formal right to give commands and make decisions. So power is a personal trait, such as an acquired ability, whereas authority is a formal right. So you often see people who have power and authority, people who have the ability to influence others, but are also in a position of authority. And so I would look at Donald Trump as someone who even now in his state still he doesn't have authority anymore, right? He's not in a position of authority. He doesn't hold any political office, but he still has enormous power. And he has the power to convince people that he's right, to follow him along through anything that he does, to influence them to make changes in their personal lives, and to influence them to give him money, to influence them to join certain groups. He has a lot of power even now. And if he becomes president again, then he'll have power and authority. And so thinking about other people who have authority would be like, even when I was a kid, my parents had authority. So they could tell me what to do. They could tell me what to eat. They could tell me what to wear. And when I was a little kid, I only had them to tell me what to do, and they had the authority. Now, when I got older, I started to resent their authority. And I said, you don't have authority over me. And so they lost their power. They still had authority, but they had lost their power. So that's an example of how someone can lose their power, but still be in an authoritative position. So power is not only formal, it can exist outside of formal systems of hierarchy. So again, in a friendship group, for example, there may be someone who has more power in the friendship group. So within a group of 7 or 8 friends, you may have someone who's more charismatic, who tends to be the one who tells people, hey, let's all go to the movies, or let's all change our music preference to be this, or let's all do this, let's all do this. So someone may have more power within the friendship group, even though there is no actual authority there. And power is about influence. It relies on the ability to shape behaviors and outcomes. So if you think of your boss at work, not only do they have authority, but if they have power, they're actually shaping your behavior. And power can be transient. It may not be a permanent attribute. It can shift from person to person. So again, thinking about your friendship group and someone who may have more power than another in that friendship group, that power isn't necessarily permanent. In a year or two, maybe someone else will take more power. And power can be derived from various sources. It can come from knowledge, skills, relationships, or positions. Now, switching over to authority. So authority is formal. It's derived from an established system or role. So here you have, like I was talking about Trump, when he was president, he had power and authority. There certainly are leaders who have authority but no power. I've had some really ineffective bosses, for example, who have that authoritative position, but just can't get anyone to do anything. Everyone is resentful of them. They make fun of them. They think that they're terrible bosses. They don't respect them. So that's an example of someone in a position of authority who doesn't actually have any power at all. So authority implies a right. It provides the legitimacy to exercise power. So we say that some people have the right to have power over me because of the position that they're in. My boss has the right to tell me that I have to work overtime today because she's in charge. She's the boss, and she can tell me what she wants me to do. So authority is consistent. Unlike power, authority is typically stable and is tied to a particular role or position. So authority only changes when that position changes. So when Trump stopped being the president and presidency was transferred over to Biden, Trump lost his authority and Biden gained authority. Now, one of the interesting things to evaluate is whether Biden actually gained power, because a lot of that presidential power stayed with Trump after he lost the presidency. He remained to have a lot of power. Did power transfer to Biden? And there could be an interesting debate about that, how much power Biden actually has. You could argue that he hasn't been able to implement a lot of his policies, right? So his student debt repayment policy that, I was obviously really for, that hasn't gone through. And he could have exercised his authority to actually have that pushed through the administration in a much more effective way. But he didn't exercise his power. So you could argue that Biden doesn't have as much power as Trump still has today. Biden cannot necessarily organize the kind of fervor and the kind of excitement that even Trump can do, even though he has lost his authority. So authority is sourced from a system or institution. It is granted, not assumed or taken. So Biden, like I said, he assumed authority, but it would be an interesting debate to see how much power Biden has versus the power that Trump retained.